Good evening, folks. Here we are having Mr. Sanjay Mudnaney, who has worked in detail branding, building employer brand, design and development of collaterals. And he has been working in communications, 360 degrees communications for a long time. It means very long experience. I'm sure you'll be able to extract the practical aspects of the communication part. Over to you, sir.
Yeah, I just set up the presentation. Yeah, so just give you a small background on my what I have done is almost about 2 decades in the field of communications. I worked on both the sides, in the sense I worked on an agency side as well as I worked in the corporate. So worked in the largest PR agency of India, which is Unitedworld. I used to have a division for them. In fact, I set up a division for them which is called integrated. The idea was to have an integrated communication concept and do pan India. So almost it was only of its kind, so 80 branches we have, which we set up. The brands that I handled when I was doing that was just yeah, so just studying the brands that I was handled is like when it comes to Pepsi, Barber products, Max, quite a lot of brands there for ingredients. So all these brands when we were handling, actually I was doing an integrated kind of a stuff with them. The first of its kind, where you said that you should have the PR also happening, you should have the marketing, you should be having the advertising, you should have almost every element of what is required for the brand. Integrate it and do it as per the requirement of the brand. So that's a separate kind of division which I set up for ad factors PR, which is today the India's largest PR agency. And before that I was again in an IT kind of an environment. I was Vice President Marketing with Unitedworld, where we had about 115 branches across the country and we moved into IT education. So I used to, across the country, handle the marketing for these branches. So we had integrated again, and it was across the country. And in Mastec, I've been there for the last almost 10 years now. And I handle the corporate communications for Mastec. I'm the head of the corporate communications division. I'm also one of the founder members of what is the Indian Forum of Corporate Communicators, which is the only registered body of the corporate communicators in India, and we have about 200 members, which almost every company that you can name in India is a part of this one. The compound head of each of these companies will be part of this one. That's my passion. I love this area, so I'm out of it out of choice. I'm in this with the choice, and that's the stuff that I love. Branding, communications. So the session that I'm doing today is a small group. More of I'm here to share with you my experience. 2 hours is too short a time to share 20 years, but I will see what I can share with you. So if you were to give me your background, so that I have this set from where you come, so I know what level I can come. Each one of you can just introduce themselves. It's a very small group. And something about yourself and what you're doing and what is your aim and what are you looking for. Yeah, let's start with you.
This is a business strategy.
much knowledge in all this telecom. Usually interested in healthcare sector, sales and marketing, such as marketing, healthcare sector.
So my name is Sanjay Mudnaney. I've been working for Even Fast my company. In the last 2 years, I've actually but I was working as the key account manager. I was a key account manager and I was handling the territories of Bombay and Delhi. And after this course, I planned to get into media communication and also business.
My name is Sanjay. 4 years of experience, international business and research. So looking forward to career in the industry. Media.
Media. Any idea about media?
Media, mostly TV platforms.
Television.
Good evening, I am Ajay Singh. I've been associated with the infrastructure and realty sector for the last 10 years. And the whole idea of coming here is sharpening my skills, honing my skills for future advancement career development.
My name is Parvez. I've done my BMS in 2005. Since then, I was in corporate sales. It spanned over from electronics to IT to telecom, early sales. I'm here to. I will go back to telecommunication. I will start from sales and then shift to something like that.
Okay, so I am going to be taking the subject which is on related to communications, but more from an employee perspective as to how do you and this is one part of the role that we play as corporate communicators. As I say when I'm in corporate communications, this is one of the very major roles because corporate communications as a field, if I look at it, I've been integrated almost for my life. I mean, there's 20 years, 25, 23 years that I've spent in the field. I've always been integrated, which is taking whatever is required. So there's no concept like, this is I just do PR or I do just marketing or I just do sales or, I look at some kind of, the tools can be anything. As long as what is required to be done by the particular kind of a brand or whatever the product I'm selling or whatever I have. Because finally, what am I doing? All these things I'm actually trying to just get my communication across. Whoever my audience is. And today if the thing is the internet is evolved, then I should be as good as understanding this new field that's coming up. So I do that. So I understand maybe I'm a starter or whatever, but I might have a blog myself. So I would blog. That's the best way. And I would learn whatever is there. So whatever is required for the communication, whether it's the internet today as it is evolving, as that's going to become the next future. I'm seeing as PR, the whole trend will start changing as the times go ahead. You already see that a lot of things are happening. So as a corporate communicator, I actually look at almost every element of communication. Secondly, in an organization, I cut across the lines. In the sense, if there's a finance department, they also are looking at me. If there is a marketing department, they are also looking at me. If there is HR, they are looking at me. So I'm actually somebody who's cutting across almost every function that is happening out in the organization. And most of the companies, you find the com head will normally work with the CMO or the CEO of the organization. He almost always report to the CEO. Why? Because he is actually holding the voice of the company, which is being projected outside or spoken outside. And that very closely you have to work with the person who's really heading the organization. So that's why you normally work, most of the companies you find that the com head is actually working with the top guy, like anywhere, any organization that you take across mostly. This field is now coming up in in the sense that the realization of importance of this field is coming up now in India. There's a lot more of respect to this particular profession today, and you will find that though we don't have the board as of now, we won't find most companies we form as part of the board, but actually we are because we work closely with the CEO, CMD, whether it's a Reliance or whether it is any other company. When you're seeing whatever is happening in the media, whatever is playing out, whatever perceptions are happening, the person behind actually working the scene is the head of top law. So, and I'm going to take up one very important aspect of what we do, which is dealing with the workforce. And this is exactly a practical case study around mastering. So what I'm picking up is something where even Jayanta was involved. It's a very practical, not absolutely theoretical. We can have it as it's a small group. We can have a lot more question answers. You can ask me, and you can actually shape up the direction that you want to take this at.
So sir, it's more of internal communication.
I will take this up as one of the things that we do in corporate. This becomes a very important part today because if you're sort of talking about employees are a very important part of the organization. So I'm looking at this as one thing which I'll spend a lot of time on. I can take up the other things also. But this is where I would like to at least give you with an actual case study, because this is where we were involved with Jayanta, where we worked on this entire communication, what the impact was and how it happened, to give you a sense of that, that really very practical experience. So, change. For example, everybody talks about change, right? And this visual, I'm sure, is very fresh in everybody's mind. Mastec 2, about 2 years back, we thought of changing our brand, the identity as a whole. So what goes in changing a brand identity is the kind of stuff that I'm going to take you through. As to what happened, why we arrived at it, what are the challenges that we face when doing something of this nature, how do you sustain it, how do you take it and how do you roll it across practically. So actually, if you notice that 2 years, 1.5, 2 years back, what was happening was the Indian IT industry was facing a lot of challenges. All of the challenges are over. We had this recession which was happening. We had the currency exchange rates going up, down. Capital markets were changing almost constantly, and even now you find that there's a lot of volatility, but there was a huge amount of volatility. Client organizations were going through restructuring, a lot of changes were happening there. Rapid shifts in demand environment, food prices, crude oil prices, almost everything was changing. And today the world, one thing I noticed is that as time has passed, the change is so frequent outside world. So I say this is stable, suddenly I find Europe is having a problem. So I said, okay, recession is taken care of, US is improving, and suddenly you find that something else is going on. So you don't know. And then suddenly you heard this is taken care of, and something else is erupting somewhere else. So it's an environment that is completely volatile. So what I'm dealing with as a communicator sitting in an organization is a completely outside environment that is constantly volatile. It's constantly changing. In this, how to manage a workforce? When I'm looking at this happening, so at one level I had a zero, the attritions had come down absolutely, then suddenly you find attritions going up, shooting through the roof. So you have a 12% attrition and then you have 30% attrition. Suddenly markets change and pick up and people start leaving the organization. So it's a constantly changing. The biggest challenge that this is one of the things that I'm going to face constantly. And as time has progressed, if I look at back 10 years back, it was much more comfortable. It was not like things were changing every day, or it was not like very rapidly hitting you as a shock. Today things change at such a rapid pace that I don't know what's happening. It's like I just didn't know, and suddenly I have this Europe thing happening. And then suddenly everybody in the media wants to know what's happening because Europe is happening. Because your business is coming from Europe. So I have got 50% of my business coming from Europe. Suddenly everybody is now asking the question as to what will happen to your Europe business. So as a PR person, I suddenly have thrown a different challenge, which comes up. So these things are constantly happening for me. When I look at identity, this is what I have thought of. It's very simplistic if I would define this is what it is. Who am I? What do they think of me? Even individuals we think about this constantly. This is constantly running in my mind. I'm always looking at what everybody else is thinking about. So first of all, there's something which is inside me. This is who am I? The question I'm asking myself constantly. And What do the others think about me? It's very important for me to know what everybody thinks, whether it is in sync. What I think of myself and what others think of me. Somewhere there's the identity setting around.